How's it going, boys? TKC here, and welcome back to a brand new video for you guys. In this video, I'm going to be starting a series I'm going to be calling TKC 10s. One of the biggest questions I get all the time is why I don't give songs 10s on stream, and it's a pretty simple question for me. I think 10s come with time. I think you got to learn, the intricacies of the songs, where the fills are. You got to get used to the melodies, the lyrics, the vocals. I think all that stuff kind of plays in, and it's really hard to be able to tell when a song is going to be a 10 just off first listen alone. And so I don't think a lot of viewers have an idea of what I think a 10 exactly is. And so this is the series I kind of want to use for that, breaking down some of my favorite songs in melodic dubstep of all time. And I think it'll be a pretty fun series. I get a lot of people valuing, what I say on tracks and stuff like that. I personally think I'm just one dude. I don't think my opinion holds that much merit, but it seems like a lot of people think, my opinion holds some merit and stuff like that. So would love to do some content like this, maybe give some producers some insight on, things I look for in tracks and stuff like that, and kind of just breaking down some of my favorite tracks and some common patterns that you see. So in this video, I'm going to be probably picking what is a top 3 song of all time for me, which is going to be Trivecta, Last Heroes, and RUNN, Waiting for You. In my opinion, probably a top 3 track of all time. I've heard it almost 200 times according to my last FM stats. And yeah, overall, just one of those tracks I think does absolutely everything perfectly. So breaking it down is going to be a ton of fun. Let's get into the breakdown. So you're going to get the rare TKC headphones. This hasn't happened in a hot minute. But don't want the audio coming through on the mic for this. So we're going to be breaking it down. I've got my title open here. And yeah, so I'm going to be going over verse, build up, chorus, all that jazz, drop, the differentiations between each. So let's hop into it. Let's hop into the first here. And before I hop into the breakdown section of it, we're just going to be doing a quick listen where I don't say anything, and then we're going to kind of be going down and doing the breakdown. So we'll start with the first verse right now.
Am I awake? Wide asleep? Lost in the days in between. Thought the time had froze soon as you were close. I felt the move finally. Okay, so that's just first verse there. Again, so many great elements to point out. You can look at, for example, just the first section right here. Before the track even starts, got yourself a nice little intro section. I was about to say outro. Love me a good intro section. Again, atmospheres are great. Pads are great. Really just builds into those verses. And then you get the verses here. RUNN vocals come in. And again, I think what makes that section so fascinating just right there is something that doesn't get talked about very often. It's transitioning and adding something significant every 8 bars. So you can start off with the first section of the verse here. Obviously, the chords in the back are beautiful as well. Very airy as well. Just right there. So when that section comes in, you get the strings, the pads, and the atmospheres up a little bit, bring themselves more into the mix. And then you get that huge release as you go into the chorus. So in my opinion, again, fascinating verses. The way that they're structured is so well done. It doesn't even need percussion to sell the idea itself. Yeah, overall, just fantastic verses. Now I'm going to head into the chorus here. Again, the chorus is fascinating, so let's take a listen. I've been waiting for you. Wondering when you come around. I've been dreaming of the things you would do. Baby, don't you let me down. I was waiting till I felt something true. Makes it worth the wait. Takes my breath away. I've been waiting for you. All right, people are gonna get pissed that I'm pausing right before the drop, but again, I kind of want to go over that chorus. Huge releases are super important. It helps build, in my opinion, helps build some tension into that chorus. You want the chorus to be one of the most memorable sections of the song. And so when you kind of strip away the elements and let the viewer know that they're about to be heading into another journey, I think that's so important in a chorus. So yeah, huge release, super important. Love that section.
I've been waiting for you. Wondering when you come around. I've been dreaming.
And again, there's not much here except the chords, the pads.
Baby, don't you let me down.
Again, every 8 bars, you get a little bit of... Every 8 bars, you're getting something there. So as mentioned before, was pretty straightforward in that chorus with just the pads, a little bit of twinkles, Foley's in the back. But then as it starts to pick up, you get, a clap, you get the sort of plucky style saws in the back that add some energy. You're starting to pick up tension. Fantastic, fantastic work.
Something true makes it
Little vocal chops in the back there too.
I've been waiting for you.
Again, you start to get a kick here. You get the introduction of the drop lead. And again, you get that huge snare there as well. We get the first bits of percussion realistically. At least the drop percussion, obviously, there was a clap and a kick in the build up there. But at the end of the day, again, you add that sort of drop lead. You bring in a kick. Again, there's something every 8 bars that keeps it engaging. And so at the end of the day, you're building a huge journey with this. And yeah, one thing I love when producers do too is when they add just a huge bit of silence. Mox Jade has kind of gone over this in an Instagram reel before, but adding that huge release, just a little bit of silence before the drop makes the saws sound way bigger as you're going from 0 to 100, right? So again, huge technique used in that. Love that. Let's go over drop 1. All right, that's drop 1. Again, just a spectacle, masterpiece of a drop. Again, the big thing is that Last Hero's production and Trivecta production is going to sell a lot of this track, but at the end of the day, I think structure is so important. The way the drop is structured. So one thing I really want you to keep an eye out for the first half of the drop is the fills compared to the second half of the drop. Again, fills will be like just, a little pause, some noises in between the sections and stuff like that. So yeah, I want you to keep an eye out. We're going to play, drop 1 again. I want you to keep an eye out for the difference in fills and drop in the first half and in the second half of drop 1. There. Little silence there. So that's 2. Another one, growl, little LFO there. So you've got like 5 different sections of that drop that's adding some interesting, production, some cool effects that keep that drop interesting. If it wasn't for those fills, if it wasn't for the bits of silence, the growls and stuff like that, I don't feel like that drop idea would necessarily be as engaging. Again, now I want you to pay attention to the second half because the second half pretty much eliminates the fills entirely. However, the introduction of the RUNN vocal makes up for those fills. So pay attention to the fills. You got one there. So you got 2. So throughout that drop, you've pretty much really only got 2 type of fills, bits of silence, stuff like that. But again, that part is just as engaging as that first half because you've got that RUNN vocal over top, right? So adds a little bit. It doesn't take away anything. Obviously, again, they realistically could have just went for keeping the fills the same in the second half, but that's not going to be as engaging, right? They're making a change every 8 bars. Again, one of the fundamentals of melodic dubstep, in my opinion, and what the best tracks get absolutely perfect. And then obviously you've got this post outro or post drop section that Last Heroes love to do. We can dive into this as well. So yeah, again, it's pretty standard Last Heroes stuff. Last Heroes love to do this sound. I think it's a great way to transition from a huge drop back into more, not necessarily like a fully energetic drop or verse and stuff like that, but I just think it's a really great way to transition from drop right back into verse instead of either having a little bit of silence, which can kind of work too. You have like a tail of silence at the end of that drop, transition right back into the verse. But I think it's a really great way if you want to keep percussion present in those verses, keep the verses a little bit different from verse 1 instead of just copy and pasting. So again, think that's fantastic. Again, and Last Heroes love to do that where they have the sort of plucky saws in the back, the repeating sounds. Man Cub loves to do that as well. Lots of these, artists that have really engaging verses love to use that technique. So again, if you're looking to maybe spice up your verses, that's a technique you could go with. I'm going to mention the percussion because there's elements of the percussion I really want to mention, but we'll go over those in verse 2. Also, that fill at the end there. All right, so again, kind of going over that, pretty similar to verse 1, but again, we've now introduced percussion into this idea. One of the things that I feel like goes super undernoticed about this track is the way that it has it's like a reversed cymbal and it leads into the snare. I want you to listen to that again. Just pay a little bit of attention to the snare. I mean, the snare is fucking fantastic, but pay attention to that little tail of like a reverse cymbal that leads into the snare. I feel like it adds just so much extra punch to that snare. So again, that snare, feel like that does a ton. But again, you've got that fundamental idea, switching it up, adding things, keeping things interesting every 8 bars. So again, we got the standard idea just here. Went a little far. Okay. And the little plucky saws in the back, fantastic. You got the little sort of twinkly chime in the back there. And then that huge release back into that second chorus. So again, just a fantastic spectacle of verse work on display. It makes the verses different from verse 1, brings a little bit of energy too. I feel like a lot of the times what producers can do sometimes is they'll make verse 1 have the kind of the same energy as verse 2. I think verse 2 should stand out in its own, sort of right. And that's a way to do it. Adding percussion, keeping, the second half of verse 1 present and, and in the chorus as well. It feels pretty reminiscent of that chorus, but again, keeping elements, adding elements, keeping things interesting and different is so massive. And yeah, again, verse 2, spectacle of work. Let's head on to chorus 2.
I've been waiting for you, wondering when you come around. I've been dreaming of the things you do. Baby, don't you let me down. I was waiting till I felt something true. Makes it worth the wait. Takes my breath away. I've been waiting for you.
All right. Again, you're probably going to hate me. We're saving drop 2. But chorus 2 doesn't necessarily differentiate a ton from chorus 1. I think it does enough to be different. But again, I really want to bring emphasis to, you know, the transition from verse 2 into chorus 2 just right here.
It's all for you and no one else.
Again, huge release. You're going from that really energetic sound, huge dubstep snare in verse 2, going into that sort of chorus section, releasing it, taking away the percussion, pretty much just stripping all the elements and just keeping, you know, the pads and the chords in the back. Again, I really think that does a great job at bringing emphasis onto that chorus. The chorus, again, should be one of the most fundamental aspects of the song. That's the part that you want people to remember. So does it fantastically. That release is just so perfect. And then, you know, stays pretty much the same. What I said for chorus 1 kind of stays the same for chorus 2, except for the last 8 bars of the drop, or of the build-up. Introduction of the drop lead. And again, what I think makes that so just brilliant and fascinating is you're getting the anticipation that the drop is going to be different, especially on a first listen. I think one of the biggest cardinal sins in melodic dubstep right now is keeping drops 1 and drops 2 the exact same, maybe with a little fake out in drop 2. But I think what really makes melodic dubstep so engaging nowadays are those tracks that take 2 different ideas, 2 relatively similar ideas, but there's some sort of addition onto drop 2 that kind of makes it a huge climax sort of at the end. So again, huge respect for to Trivecta and Last Heroes. You kind of add this Trivecta sort of lead to that drop. And again, I want you to pay attention when we get into this drop. Pay attention to the lack of fills in this drop. All right, so that's drop 2 for you. Again, absolute spectacle of work. Production is selling a lot of that. But again, just structurally, we're so aware to, you know, the fact that the lead was going to sell drop 2, the lack of fills in there really doesn't take away from the idea. Again, just so fascinating stuff. The you know, the awareness that they had that they wanted this to be a lead forward drop. So there's not a ton of fills in there, but again, you've got that same core foundation. Every 8 bars, something is changing. They bring in that sort of familiar drop lead that you hear, you know, in drop 1. They don't bring in the vocals for the second half of the drop, but they decide to bring in that drop lead. So then you've got that second half of the, you know, of that drop being lead, huge saw sound, and then you've got that lead in the back. Just a massive wall of sound. And again, what makes this track so engaging. So we're gonna head and I want to listen to the drop outro again. Again, they're doing that same core principle, changing things up every 8 bars. So and see, you notice that. So again, the vocal's not as present in the first half of that, you know, drop outro. Drop outro features, you know, more of the key heavy sound. You've got a little bit of RUNN vocals in there, not too much, but you know, they take that away as they're progressing towards the outro. So then towards that outro, you've got mainly the RUNN heavy second half of that drop outro there. And again, yeah, just fantastic progression work. I don't think that tracks like this get enough credit for stuff like this. Like composition wise, just absolutely on point. So again, kind of my points on that drop outro. Let's just head into the outro here real quick. Yeah. Again, just so fascinating stuff. You only really get 8 bars of goodness there, but just atmospheres, pads, just such clean and great sounds on display there. You got the little violin at the end, and just tons of little things that are added that just make that outro so engaging too. You get that huge release towards the drop outro and towards the start of the outro, and then you get that huge release as the outro just finishes to call off a conclusion to the song. So again, just an absolute spectacle of work on hand. This is a track that I would absolutely consider a 10. Again, as mentioned before, I'm going to start to sound like a broken record, but production definitely sells the idea here for sure. But at the end of the day, doing literal structural things like this to me absolutely also sells this tune. At the end of the day, there are songs by Trivecta, songs by Last Heroes that have this level of production. And to me, the ideas aren't as engaging as a song like Waiting for You. So again, structural things, little things like that, ways that, the fills are placed, ways that little elements are put in the background. Simple things like that can really elevate a track for me. And again, structure-wise, beautiful display of what a track that is perfectly structured can do. Again, I really hope you guys enjoyed that breakdown, and I hope that kind of gives you a little bit of perspective of what I look for in tunes and what I think makes a 10. Again, at the end of the day, I could sit here and talk about what makes the production so great. Obviously, again, Last Heroes, some of the best saws in the game. Trivecta, some of the best leads in the game. When you combine those two together, they're going to make a fantastic sound. But at the end of the day, little things like that, in my opinion, just absolutely elevate the tune to the next level. So, and also you got RUNN as a vocalist. RUNN's gonna sell every tune that she's on as well. So again, just a masterpiece in the melodic dubstep scene, in my opinion. And I hope this breakdown can kind of give you a little bit more appreciation for stuff like this on display, right? Things to look for in the production and other elements like that, right? That may go unnoticed to you on first listen and stuff like that. Let me know if you want to see me do more of these. Again, would love to break down more songs that I think are 10s, what makes the song so great and whatnot. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.